Welcome back to Project 613. Today we are going to learn a little bit about an Eruv. The specific mitzvah that we have today is Al Yetze Ish Mimkomo Bayom HaShvi, one that we learned previously already, that is forbidden for us to travel beyond the city's limits on Shabbat. We explained a few days ago in detail what this means, that there is a 2,000 amma, approximately 3,000 foot limit that a person is allowed to travel outside of a city on Shabbat. And when we learned this mitzvah, we learned about a type of Eruv called Eruv Techumin. Eruv Techumin is a mechanism by which a person can extend the area in which they can travel outside of the city on Shabbat, and that is done by placing some food within the permissible area before Shabbat, and then establishing their place of residence within the permissible area, and then the 2,000 amma limit begins from there rather than from the original limits of the city. Today we are going to learn about the more commonly known type of Eruv, the Eruv that would allow a person to carry in an area that otherwise it would be forbidden for him to carry in on Shabbat. And this is known in halacha as Eruv Chatzerot, the Eruv of the courtyards. Why is this known as the Eruv of the courtyards? So, as we learned yesterday, from a biblical perspective, it is forbidden for us to carry outdoors on Shabbat in a public domain, and it is also forbidden for us to carry from indoors to outdoors, from the private domain to the public domain, or from the public domain to the private domain. But what happens from one private domain to another? Let's say two next door neighbors to pass something over the fence, or to be more specific, back in the day, it was a common thing for people to share a courtyard. So you can have many homes that would actually have a shared garden that was enclosed. It had a wall around it, but this area wasn't really a private domain specifically. It wasn't a private home. And at the same time, it wasn't exactly a public domain that all of the public, where all the public would walk through. And in the time of King Solomon, it was King Solomon and his Bet Din who felt that although biblically it would be permissible to carry within that enclosed area, within the shared courtyard, or biblically it would be permissible for one neighbor to pass something to their neighbor's own back garden, nevertheless, if this would be allowed, a person can easily be mistaken and think that it is forbidden to pass an object from one domain to another. And then they could say, we can also pass something from a private domain to a public domain because it would actually be very similar. And therefore, they instituted this concept of Eruv Chatzerot, which basically means that all of the people living in a shared courtyard, or two next door neighbors who want to be able to move an object from one private domain to another, or in the other description of many neighbors who are sharing one joint area, they have to make an Eruv, which basically is by designating some food and sharing that food together and saying, just like we own this food together, so too we are sharing in the entire area together, and it becomes one domain rather than many private domains. This mechanism, although originally was used in this specific way, in later generations was extended to be able to include an entire village or an entire town or an entire city by effectively doing the exact same thing. Of course, you have to have both conditions. There has to be a wall around the area, and all of the people have to share in the area jointly. Now, in order to make that wall around the area, this is where it gets tricky, because essentially there has to be a real wall. If you cannot have a real wall, then you can suffice with a halachic wall, which consists of many poles and a wire going across the poles on the top. And once you have that, you effectively have a wall around the entire area. And then if the people share together in that area, it is considered a private domain, and one can carry within that area. The laws of an Eruv are very complex, and requires an expert rabbi anytime an Eruv is being built, but this is the gist of it. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.